My name is Larissa. In this video, I will show you how to add buttons to your scrub cap so you can use them to fasten your face mask and save your ears from unnecessary pain.
The same method works for all 4 of my models with and without bias tape, with or without pouch for hair. You will need adhesive paper, some fabric, measuring tape, some pins, some buttons, and a thread. Buttons I use are 19 millimeters in diameter or 3/4 of an inch. Next step is to determine where buttons should be. Let's fold our scrub cap in 2. Then measure 2.5 inches from the edge of the scrub cap. Put a pin in there. Next, measure how far it is from the center of the scrub cap. It should be 6 inches. If that pin is not 6 inches from the center, just move it. Secure your pin on this side. Then take another pin, put it from the other side of the scrub cap. Separate the layers and make sure that both spots on both sides for your buttons are marked. In the next step, I will prepare 2 circles of adhesive paper that I will iron on to my fabric later so I can reinforce the spot where buttons go. So you take either a spool or a button and trace around them on the piece of paper. In the next step, I am going to take my adhesive paper with 2 circles, flip the remnant of fabric on the wrong side, put the piece of paper with adhesive toward the fabric, and keep hot iron on the fabric for 2-3 seconds to make it stick. Once your paper with adhesive stuck to the fabric cools off, take scissors and cut those circles out. Now I'm going to separate the fabric from the paper so adhesive stays on the fabric. In the next step, I'm going to use those circles of fabric with adhesive to reinforce the fabric on the scrub cap where my buttons will go. I align the center of the fabric with adhesive with the place where the pin was. I pull the pin out and use the hot iron to make the circle stick to the scrub cap. See how nice and clean? I'm going to repeat this procedure on the other side of the scrub cap. I take my circle with adhesive, put the adhesive side down, align it with a pin, pull the pin out, and keep the hot iron for 2-3 seconds on that spot. Both spots for the buttons are reinforced now. Let's sew these buttons onto those circles. I'm going to stick my needle close to the center of the circle and make a couple of stitches to attach the button to the scrub cap. Just a couple of stitches. Then I'm going to make a nice clean knot and cut that thread off. Once I'm done with one button, I'm turning my scrub cap around, sticking my needle into the center of the second circle, making a couple of stitches to attach my button. 3 or 4 stitches is enough. Then flipping my work around and making a nice clean knot. Now I'm going to cut off the thread, and as you can see, there are buttons on both sides of my scrub cap. My work is done.